Welcome to Cyber Scared, the show where we take a look at some of the scariest people on the internet that are walking among us in our daily lives. And what better way to find scary people than Reddit? And if I was to describe the scary theme for this video in a single word, it would be incels. Now, if you don't know what an incel is somebody who finds themselves unable to attract a woman. Usually we're talking about specifically sexually here. And those very same people, instead of working on themselves, working on their mental health, going to the gym, eating healthy, they instead blame women for all their problems. So brace yourself, we're going to be reading some absolutely crazy delusional people. The title for this post is "The word incel should never be used as an insult." Oh boy. Now real quickly, I want to break down how the format of this show is going to work. I'm going to read these posts, and if you hear this sound effect, it means I'm adding my own commentary about the story that wasn't in the direct post. Now with that established, let's get into it. First of all, most men who are involuntarily celibate are in such a way because a woman told them that this is the right way to treat a woman, also known as a mother. Single mothers do so much damage, especially to young men. We all know the statistics. Most drug users are from single mother households, most homeless, most men who commit suicide, but nobody really talks about incels. Single mothers are single for a reason. Long are gone the days when most single mothers were widows whose husbands died in wars and such. Now they're either hussies unable to actually live with, or settlement seekers. In my experience, only the smallest percentage of single mothers actually come from abusive relationships in which they are abused. On the other hand, I see a lot of single moms who just want babies, so they baby trap a dude and then leave him. Not to mention them being the gatekeepers, so if they actually end up with an asshole, it's usually because they simply chose wrong. So obviously this guy is crazy, but I already want to comment on something that he said here that is absolutely bonkers to me. I've been an adult for a long time now. I've met all types of women, I've met all types of families. And not once have I met a girl who's like, yeah, you know how I want to start a family? By abandoning my husband the second I have a child. That's how you know this person is just insanely out of touch with reality, right? Because it is so hard to raise a child in this economy and this world that we're living in currently. The fact that he thinks single moms are just wanting to be single and it's not because of other outside factors is absolutely insane to me, just right off the get-go. Continuing, the thing is, once a young male matures into an age where women become the main interest, they look for guidance. Not easy in a world where your whole life can be demolished because of one bad interaction with a female. If a father is present, he'll be more inclined to give honest and helpful guidance. If not, the mother will start a description of a fabulous white knight they imagine as the perfect boyfriend, but also one they would actually never date in real life. And thus you end up in a generation of men who have all the abilities to get any women they want, but fail to do so because the guidance they received from their mothers helps them end up in a friend zone and such. So all in all, I was thinking it's pretty awful for women to insult men by calling them incels, while they are the reason incels exist. And to think that we live in a world where you have to use certain pronouns for certain people so some illusionary trans activist doesn't get offended and commit suicide, but it's perfectly fine to run around yelling incel, incel to a bunch of sad, depressed men. And with that, we reach the end of the story, and my God, take some accountability, my guy. First of all, you're like, I'm such a nice guy, why doesn't anyone love me? And then right after, you're like, it's not our fault, it's not my fault, nothing's wrong with me, I'm perfect, why can't everyone see it? It's everyone else that's the problem, not me. Put down the McDonald's, get a gym membership, and work on your mental health. I don't know what to tell you. These type of people are so hard to talk to because they're legitimately living in a different world, right? And furthermore, at the very end of the story, you kind of see truly how hateful this person is, right? Because I get that a lot of people are confused by pronouns, but if you think that like a trans person is losing sleep because you don't call them the right gender, that is not happening. They're losing sleep because people are threatening their lives. The entire trans issue is just basic common courtesy, right? If somebody came up to you and said, "Hey, I got my name changed legally from Chris to Evan," you would be a dick if you just called them Chris when they asked. It's just basic common courtesy. That's legitimately all it is. And if your whole thing is like, "Oh no, there's only two genders," I think you need to learn the difference between gender and sex, because all throughout human history, we've had more than two genders. It's just basic world history. If you don't think we have, you haven't been looking at world history very much at all. Like, I'm sorry, that's just the truth of it. The thing I can't get over with this post is the fact that he's like, most single moms just want to have a baby and leave. Like, what are we talking about here? On to the next story. The second post reads as such. As a former incel, I found a relationship with an amazing woman, and now I feel resentful towards how my progressive friends/community treated me when I was lonely. Are you sure you're a former incel? Because something is just still giving me the incel vibe from the title alone. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this man was truly lonely and all of his friends abandoned him. So let's get into the body of the post itself. It starts out by saying, "I was never entitled. I just wanted the same love and relationships I saw others around me having. I was never sexualizing my friendships. I was tired of being a permanent fourth wheel to my polyamorous friends who would go do shit like plan to go to sex clubs in front of me. While when I asked for help meeting people, I was told to either figure it out myself or go to therapy." I want to point out how strange that was worded. My man said they would do stuff like plan to go to sex clubs in front of me. The fact that these people were talking about it in front of you most likely was an invitation, my guy, that you need to read the room a bit. He's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe they're comfortable talking about their relationships in front of me. My Reddit friends are gonna hear about this one." Continuing, "I never hated women. I hated how I was held to a ton of unfair standards and expectations while being told that having my own was toxic. I hated being expected to pay for dates and meals and being used as a free meal only to get ghosted. I hated being told, 'I don't like your body, but I like the dates that you take me on' by the girl I lost my virginity to. I hated that I was expected to be stoic and emotionless because I would get ghosted if I expressed that I had feelings." Okay, so there's a lot to unpack with what he just said here. First of all, this one is a common thing that you see men being resentful for. If you cannot afford to take them to dinner, don't set up a first date at an expensive dinner spot. You don't need to set up a first date where it costs money at all. You can have a picnic in the park. You can just be at a park. You can hang out at a park. You can go to a free museum. There are so many things you can do for a first date that don't involve spending money. And that's the key here that you need to really focus on, because so many guys truly think that you have to have this big, crazy, like Hollywood movie type first date where it's like you go to this expensive steakhouse, you treat them nicely. And hey, if you can afford to do that and you want to do that, more power to you. But the thing to keep in mind here is that you're setting the expectation on the very first date. If you on your very first date act like you're very wealthy and that you can just go out and spend a bunch of careless money on somebody you're just meeting, they're going to see that as the expectation always. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't spend money on your partner. You should. You should spend money on the people you care about. I'm afraid that's basic logic. But this idea that girls only want to go on dates for free food is absolute lunacy. The other misconception that he mentioned that I want to clear up here for a lot of people is that girls do in fact want somebody who is in touch with their feelings. Now, all girls are different, right? So their wants and likes are going to be different for every single situation. But a common complaint that you see all the time is a girl is saying that their guy is basically emotionless. He doesn't let them in, that he doesn't express his feelings. And you'll hear about this all the time. Like they're dating somebody or even possibly married to somebody, and they're just so tired of them not opening up. They're like, can you please have some emotions and be human? Like basically in every single major relationship that I've been in, what took it to the next level was being clear and honest about my feelings and emotions, not only my feelings towards them, but about my feelings about the entire world, my emotional state at that day or week, just communication. Communication is the single most important thing. And if you're not telling them about your emotions and your feelings, then you're not communicating properly. Does that make sense? Continuing, he said, I hate how I was repeatedly told to not focus on relationships and to look for friends or other men to have my needs met because women didn't owe me anything, only to be met with the reality that my friends weren't there to hug me after a long day at work. My friends weren't splitting rent and bills with me. My friends had their own relationships to go home to. Not to mention that most of my former friends paired up and fucked off elsewhere. What? What? Why do you know what a friend is? Does this guy know what a friend is? I, I am truly baffled by that. You want your friends to pay your rent? The friends that don't live with you, you want them to pay your rent. And you want more hugs from them? I kind of see why people were saying, like, are you sure you aren't into guys? Like, don't get me wrong, I hug my guy friends all the time. I'm a hugger. I hug before I do a handshake if someone's comfortable with it. But never once in my entire life have I gotten off a long, hard day of work and I was like, oh, my friends should be here to hug me when I get home. Like, what are we talking about? Continuing, he said, now that I've met and been with my amazing girlfriend for just over a year, it's done more to improve my life than my friends ever did. We split expenses, so I have twice as much disposable income to actually go out and enjoy a life. She's there to hug me after a rough day at work. We split chores and housework so things don't get overwhelming if one of us gets sick for a few days. I'm so angry that I was constantly fed this clear bullshit about focusing on friends by people who had already met their needs in their own relationships. It's no fucking wonder young men are going to scumbags like Andrew Tate for advice when the prevailing messaging coming across from the progressive spaces is that they're entitled and don't deserve to be loved. And with that, we meet the end of the post, and my first reply to that is I am so sorry for this girlfriend. Like, I hope she has escaped already and that you're back to blaming everyone else for your own problems because you do not deserve to be in this relationship. You are not mature enough to be in this relationship. And the second that your girl realizes that you're only in this relationship because it's transactional, she's gonna bounce so fast. Because very quickly, let's break down the advantages of being in a relationship that he specifically mentioned. He said, I split expenses with my girlfriend so things are cheaper. She hugs me so I have someone to hug. And the third one is, she helps clean around the house so I don't have to do so much. Now you'll notice with every single one of those examples, it was all about me, and me. This person can only think about himself, and it's no wonder if you're framing a relationship like that your entire life that it took you so long to get into one, because that's not how you go about a relationship. And also, it's very strange that you expected your friends to do any of those things that are typically like what your life partner is supposed to be doing. And as far as I'm concerned, this guy wasn't truly looking for friends or for a girlfriend. What he was looking for was a mom. This is legitimately a man-child that is looking to get mothered not only by his girlfriend, but by his friends. He said, I can't believe my friends aren't coming over to do my chores with me. It's like they don't care about me at all. It's like, why would that be your friend's responsibility? It's very telling that when you were listing and talking about your girlfriend, you weren't listing a single thing about her. You don't like your girl, you like your relationship and the things that you get from it.